Hello and welcome to FreedomFest TV. I'm Gina Carr. I'm the producer of FreedomFest TV, and I'm delighted that you could join us today. We have an exciting show for you today. Going to be very intriguing and interesting. You never know what somebody's going to say, especially our special guest today. But before that, let me introduce you to our host. And our host is Terry Brock. He's going to be the MC of FreedomFest this year. He's the former chief enterprise blogger of Skype and the former editor-in-chief of AT&T's award-winning business blog. He's a certified speaking professional and a member of the Speakers Hall of Fame, the National Speakers Association Hall of Fame, speaking all around the world about technology and marketing. So with that, let me turn it over to Terry. Terry, get us started.
Thank you very much, Gina. It is great to be here, and I welcome all of you aboard here for FreedomFest TV. Whether you're joining us live or recording, we've got an exceptionally good show today that you're going to love. We're going to have some fun, and we are going to learn, because now, hey, it's kind of nice to be the host, because then you get to set the agenda and talk about what's going to happen. And this guy is one I have admired for many years. He's a person that really knows a lot about practical, real-world business and how to make it happen. And he's joining us now. And matter of fact, you can see him there, Allyn. Wayne, welcome aboard.
Hey, Terry. Hey, Gina. How are you? Great to be on with both of you, and great to be on anything related to Freedom Fest. You know how much I love Freedom Fest, how I feel about it. And I've been the opening speaker. I think I was the all-time record 3 or 4 years in a row. Took 1 year off last year, and I'll be one of the opening speakers again this year. So 4 out of 5 or 5 out of the last 6 years, I guess, opening speaker. I love Freedom Fest, and July in Vegas without Freedom Fest would not be the same.
Yep, it's going to be a wonderful time. Well, matter of fact, let me see, Wayne, are you impressed? I put together a whole page here to introduce you. So those of you are going, well, who is this guy? Well, you're going to find out here. Allyn Root is a model for hustling entrepreneurs. He was the creator, executive producer, and co-host, along with HBO's Max Kellerman, of King of Vegas on Spike TV. He's a producer of Ghost Adventures on the Travel Channel, and Wayne is a man who gets things done and produces results. Now, he ran as vice president candidate for the Libertarian Party in 2008 when former Georgia Congressman Bob Barr was the Libertarian Party's candidate for president that year. In September 2012, Root left the LP and announced his return to the Republican Party. He is a fierce, enthusiastic, and relentless defender of Reagan conservatism, libertarianism, economic freedom, and capitalism. I like that all the way around there. Wayne also graduated from Columbia University in 1983 as a political science major. One of the people who is said to have graduated from that same class same year was a young man named Barack Obama. You might have heard of him somewhere. Yet Wayne has written about and talked about the fact that neither he nor other classmates have ever heard of Obama or remember having him in class. We'll ask Wayne to comment a bit on that a little bit more later. That sounds intriguing. Wayne has announced that he intends to run as a Republican candidate for the U.S. Senate from Nevada, a seat currently held by Democratic Senator Harry Reid. He resides in Henderson, Nevada, just outside Las Vegas, with his wife, Deborah. They have 4 children. And Allyn Root is a person who has successfully started and run several businesses, even in the face of intense scrutiny and opposition from government bureaucrats. He's a living example of how to win in the free market system. And today, he's going to share some of his ideas with us here on FreedomFest TV. Wayne, it is so good to have you here, sir. Thank you.
All right. So that long bio, 2 things need to be added, because that was like from 6 or 8 months ago, and my life changes quickly.
Okay.
Number 1 is I'm not running against Harry Reid for U.S. Senate. Let's make sure we spell that right.
Okay.
That was something I was thinking about a year ago, and I never wound up doing it because I was offered my own radio talk show, which is now
even
on
better.
5 nights a week. And I decided not to run for U.S. Senate because it's just such a long haul, man. You got to raise $20 million to win a U.S. Senate race, and so I decided not to do it. But I am the host of War Now, the Allyn Root Show here in Las Vegas, and it's going so good that it's been 6 o'clock at night, 5 nights a week. They decided to move me to afternoon drive time to replace Mark Levin. So I will be, I think in the whole country, I'm the only local host who's ever replaced Mark Levin every afternoon, 4 to 6 o'clock Vegas drive time.
Congratulations.
And I also wanted to make sure everybody knew that that I am probably the fiercest defender in the country of Donald Trump, and have been for a year now. So when we say a fierce defender of things, it's not just capitalism, it's not just conservatism, it's not just Ronald Reagan, it's not just libertarianism, it's all things Donald Trump. I've been his #1 defender and supporter since before anyone else was on the boat. It was just me and Donald alone, rowing by ourselves in the middle of the ocean. And it's been a long haul. A lot of people thought I'd ruined my career, attaching my name to his. They thought I was crazy. They thought I was suicidal or self-destructive. And I said, no, he's going to win the election. They said, you're insane. And I said, no, he's going to win the election. And they said, you don't know what you're talking about. You've lost your mind. And I'd say right now, as of today's poll, he's up by 5 points in today's Rasmussen poll. I'd say it's going to be 7 to 10 points in a week. And then it's going to be double digits and beyond from now on in. Donald's on his way to the presidency.
Mm-hmm. Do you see any truth to the rumors that Hillary could be indicted? What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I wrote something for Fox News. It's supposed to be up today. I don't know if it's up at this moment or maybe an hour from now, whatever, but sometime today it'll be up. And it says, I don't believe Hillary will ever be the Democratic nominee. Now, again, I'm saying that knowing that she's already clinched the nomination for all intents and purposes. She is the nominee. She's the presumptive nominee. I don't believe she'll make it to the finish line. I believe that there will be a recommendation by the FBI to indict. I believe that all Bill Clinton's sexual shenanigans, more and more coming out of the closet every day, and between Orgy Island and his trips on Lolita Express, I don't think you're going to see Hillary in the White House anytime soon. If the Democrats have a brain, they will make up an excuse. They'll blame it on her cough or her severe headaches, and they'll promise that that Obama will pardon her and she will drop out of this race, and they will bring in Joe Biden or Elizabeth Warren. Any one of those would be a much better candidate against Donald Trump. So I hope they don't. I'm not trying to give them advice. I hope Democrats don't listen to me because I want Donald to win. But I think they'd be insane and suicidal if they kept Hillary Clinton as their candidate. She is the Titanic. She's going down like the Poseidon Adventure. And so I think they're going to have to replace her. They're going to have to come to that conclusion sooner rather than later.
Mm-hmm. And of course, one of the nice things about doing this the way we are right now, we're recording this. We're doing this in mid-May of 2016, and we'll be able to find out later on what really happened. So always good to do it. And Wayne, you have done a lot in the, as we mentioned before, in the area of business and entrepreneurs. And so we really want to tap into that brain power that you have of success and what it's like that. Tell us about the adventures that you have done in business and some of the span of that. And then I want to go a little bit more in depth on some of the nuts and bolts and wiggle pins of that.
Well, look, we're in a terrible economy, Terry and Gina. I mean, it's awful out there, and I can testify it's awful because, because I ran for the Libertarian presidential nomination, because I won the Libertarian vice presidential nomination, because I wound up on Fox News the next morning after I won, joined the ticket. I wound up on Fox News with Bob Barr on Neil Cavuto's show. I've made friends with people that a small businessman should never make friends with. Normal small businessmen don't get to hang out with Sean Hannity and Glenn Beck and Bill O'Reilly and Neil Cavuto and all the most famous names of business and politics and TV. I have a lot of important friends, and I've also got a lot of small business owner friends. So it's kind of a weird dichotomy. I have friends who own one restaurant or 3 gas stations or 4 dry cleaners and a small real estate office, a small stock brokerage. So I'm in the real world with one foot, and then I hang out with the giants of media with the other foot. And I don't think those giants have a clue, even the ones I like that are conservative. They don't have any idea what's going on in the real world. I do. All my friends who own small businesses will tell you that business is down by 20, 30, 40%. God bless you. 20, 30, 40% from even a year ago. And how about 50 to 70% from 5 years ago? And 5 years ago, it was down 50% from 5 years before that. So we are in what I consider to be a Obama Great Depression. And I think the history books will report that someday, 20 years from now, that we've all been living through an 8-year Great Depression. Even in spite of that, because of my philosophy, you see my book right behind me. It's called Relentless, The Power of Relentless. Because
I love that title.
My number one philosophy in life, Terry, is no bitching, lots of pitching. No bitching, lots of pitching. I'm always pitching. I pitch deals 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. I never complain. I never bitch. I never protest. I just keep pitching. And so right now, it's the hardest I've ever found it to make money. It's the hardest I've ever found it to put a deal together. And yet I'm still putting more deals together than I've ever put in my life. It's just the percentages are really bad. It used to be you'd always close on 1 out of 3, 1 out of 4, 1 out of 5. at the best of times. Now it's more like 1 out of 20, 1 out of 30, 1 out of 50. And so a guy like me says, okay, no problem. I'll just work on 300 deals at the same time. And so I'll close the same 5 every 3 months, but I'll have to work on 300, not 20. And so, I can't keep up with the phone calls. I can't keep up with the emails. I've got a master sheet, a master file on my desktop, and it gives the name of every deal I'm working on. I looked it up the other day. I'm working on at this moment, literally, no joke. I've got the math there, 117 deals at the same time, and I've got the names of each person next to each deal because I couldn't remember them. When I make a phone call about each deal, I look at the master sheet to try and remember who I'm talking to, who I need to ask for, because I couldn't remember. It's like 3-4 contact people in each deal. You're talking about 400 or 500 names just of the deals I'm working on today, and 3 months ago it was kind of a different 100 deals. So, because I'm kind of an insane madman of a businessman, I'm actually doing really well. But it's really bad out there, and the times are really trying, and people don't write checks like they used to. They don't pay like they used to. I'm a guy who gives business speeches all over the world. I would say that the amount of companies booking people to give speeches is down by like 70%. And if someone used to get paid $10,000 for a speech, now they pay $5,000 or $3,000. Things are very different, and the media is not reporting it. And you better be relentless, and you better be constantly pitching, not bitching. You better set aside a few hours every day to pitch new deals while you go to work for your normal 8-hour day, pitching the normal deals for your company. You better be working on other stuff because you never know when you're going to get laid off and your company's going to go out of business. So
I like what you're saying, because it's like you're taking matters into your own hands that way. That realize we can't control what the yahoos will do up there in Washington, those bozos, knuckleheads, or whatever we're going to term for them. We can't control that. But what we can control, and what you're doing, is say, okay, I'm normally doing this many deals, and I get this response, but now you're going to up it over to here. Notice my hand goes off the screen. You can't see it. It's over here, that many extras. Now, you said you're keeping a track of it in your office. Is that right there in your office where you are?
Yeah, we're sitting in my office right now.
I want to get real nitty gritty here. What could you show us, what you're doing? Do you have a way to show that?
I'm so low tech that if I move the camera, we'll never get it back to the right.
Okay, no problem.
But I can tell you, it's a professional TV studio. I've got professional TV lighting. I've got professional cameras, although we're just on a Logitech camera as we speak now. But I've got a movie camera that shoots all of my TV work. I literally do Fox News interviews right here at my desk from time to time.
And you look so lovely there too.
Yeah, so I've got a professional radio studio here where I could do my radio show, although most days I still go into the studio because I have guests and I like to be sitting across from the guests. But I've got ISDN capability to sit here and do radio from anywhere in the world, make it sound like I'm right there. And so, everything I do, I could do right here at home. And I do. I've got offices, but in the end, most of what I do is always in my home office.
Yeah, but it's a 21st century way of doing it. So, you're leveraging technology.
I was going to tell you, in spite of how bad the economy is, I've got a new book to announce. It'll be out in September. It's called Angry White Male, and it's an autobiography.
Love that title.
Describes my testimony. I'm angry. I happen to be white, and I happen to be a male. And I think we're getting the short end of the stick. I think we're the last group you could practice reverse racism on, and nobody seems to mind. We have a president who hates us and is out to destroy us and kill our businesses. And so I'm talking about it out loud, like my boy Donald Trump. I just tell the truth and let the chips fall where they may. I think it'll be the biggest hit of the political season 2016 in the run-up to the election. I've got a new TV show out as we speak. Today is Thursday, and tonight at 10 o'clock Eastern, 7 o'clock Pacific on ID Channel, Investigation Discovery Channel. My new show, Las Vegas Law, is a second episode, airs tonight. Every Thursday at 10 o'clock Eastern is Las Vegas Law, featuring the lawyers, the public defenders, the district attorneys, real life legal teams of Las Vegas, Nevada. When you commit a murder here or a rape, we cover it from the moment it happens till the moment they get the death penalty or life in prison. My cameras are running around Las Vegas covering it all. So it's kind of unusual. The most access any reality TV show has ever gotten in the history of American TV is Las Vegas Law. And that's
excellent. Excellent. Wayne, you've done so much of that, and I'm really fascinated with how you do it, because you've been hit many times, but you always get back up. What is it that's inside you that lets you think, okay, I might have gotten knocked down here, and that hurt, but you're able to get back up and go at it again? What goes on in your mind to get you back up and going?
Well, first of all, in my book, Power of Relentless, the whole first half of the book is telling you that you got to hit back really hard, kind of like Donald Trump. We have so much in common, both raised on the streets of New York, and we both counterpunch. I never hit anybody first, but after you hit me, I don't hit back soft. I hit back hard. My goal is to knock you unconscious. And so I'm a counterpuncher, and I always hit back. But the second half of my book, ironically, is about spirituality. And so, yeah, I think you have to hit hard. I think like Donald, you have to be on offense. You have to be combative. You have to hit as viciously as you're being hit, maybe more so. But yet I do it from a spiritual base. And I think you wouldn't be able to be as relentless as me and as tenacious as me if you didn't meditate every day and pray to God every day and affirm and visualize every day and work out 2 hours at the gym every day and pop 100 vitamin pills a day and eat an organic diet. And do yoga every day. That's my lifestyle. I call it positive addictions. And so, Terry, I'm just an unusual guy because I think, like Donald Trump's never drank. I've never drank. He's never done a drug. I've never done a drug. I never met him in my life till about a year ago. But we have so much in common. I think you'll find most successful people have a lot in common. You've got to be a human energizer bunny, high energy. You got to have a big personality, a lot of charisma. You got to be combative, and you got to treat life like it's a football field, and you're always on offense. 24 hours a day, you're on the offensive. You're never on the defensive. And that's my philosophy. And I wrote a book about it, and I sent it to Donald Trump, and that's how we met. He loved it. And he sent me back a wonderful endorsement that's on the back cover of the book. And we've been fast friends ever since. So I think that book could have been written about Donald Trump. It's how you win a presidential race. It's how you become a top businessman as well. It's how you spread the libertarian message or the conservative message to the whole world. And I may not like Barack Obama or what he believes in, but I respect Barack Obama because even though he's the polar opposite of me in every view he's got, he is the most relentless, ultra-liberal socialist I've ever met in my life. And I do respect that part of him. He just drives forward 24 hours a day trying to make his goals happen. I just happen to disagree with every single goal and think that they'll destroy America. And I think that's his goal. And he's doing it. He's doing a good job.
Yeah. In a way, it's kind of like Patton studied Rommel. And he admired Rommel, not because he supported Nazism by far. He fought against it, but he studied it. And he understood what they were doing. And I like what you've done. You make sure that at the core, you're doing what's right. Like you, I'm a fervent believer in exercise and eating a plant-based diet and really taking good care of ourselves, doing the exercise, studying and working also. But I want to ask you another question too. You talk about the physical side. I love what you're doing there. On the mental side, to be prepared, where do you go to the well? What are the must-consume publications, podcasts, websites that you go to where you feed your brain?
Well, first of all, I told you I meditate every day. And so before I get to publications, I sometimes do an interview like this. And when it's over, I'm completely mentally drained. As you can see, I'm very passionate, very enthusiastic, very high energy. When a half-hour interview on national TV is over, I'm tired. So I go meditate for 15 minutes. I come back like a new man. Then I do another interview. I come back, I meditate for 5 minutes. I'm a new man. And so meditation and working out in the gym are kind of the two things I do to reinvigorate my mind and keep myself fresh at all times.
In the gym, what do you work out? What kind of workouts do you go through?
Well, I've got, as much as I love my home office, I love my home gym as well. And so I've got a lot of friends call it the Root Ritz gym. I've got as much equipment in my gym as any normal hotel gym. And so I've got every piece of equipment you'd ever want to use: elliptical, bicycle, treadmill, you name it, gigantic weight setup. It's all there. And so anything you want to do. So I keep it, the key is to change it up a lot. Keep it fresh. You can't do the same thing every day. And I have to watch interesting television to work out. I don't know how people jog in the middle of the street. That's too boring. I put on a great movie on HBO, and for the next 2 hours, I can work out without feeling the pain because I'm so into that movie. So that's kind of what I do. I'm either watching Fox News, or I'm watching a 2-hour movie, or I'm watching the NFL Network or an NFL game. Those are the 4 things I do that enable me to work out an hour and a half to 2 hours every single day, come rain or shine, maybe 360 days a year. I might take off Christmas and Easter, but not too often do I take off a day. And then as far as
when you're on the road? Because let's say you're in New York for a week or so.
I work out in the hotel gym, and also I take a walk. Sometimes I take walks instead of a workout. I'll go for an hour, hour and a half walk, whatever city I'm in. I love walking and observing. I can't run without the TV on, but I can walk and observe. And sometimes I mix them up. I'll walk for an hour, and then I'll come do work out in the gym for an hour. But as far as publications, I always read Forbes. I always read and Steve Forbes has become a good friend of mine. I always read the Wall Street Journal. I always watch Fox News. I check into Drudge Report 50 times a day and foxnews.com as well on the internet. I check in at Zero Hedge. I don't know if you know that one, Terry, but as far as business, if you don't go to Zero Hedge every day, you don't understand what's happening in the economy.
I'm writing it down now. I've heard of it before, but have not looked into it. ZeroHedge.com.
Zero Hedge, HEDGE. And it's just a bunch of discreet, anonymous, brilliant hedge fund operators, probably all $100 million to $1 billion guys, who tell you what they really think all day long about the lies of the economy. They take every lie that's told by politicians like Obama and some on the right, and they disassemble the lie at Zero Hedge and prove to you that unemployment is not low, the economy is not good, the economy is bad, shipping numbers are bad, manufacturing numbers are bad, job numbers are bad, retail numbers are bad, GDP's at zero, and yet the BS in the media convinces you that it's good. And they rip it to shreds every single day. It's the must-stop site for me every morning is Drudge, Fox News, Zero Hedge. I don't go anywhere without those three. I read the Wall Street Journal every day with my morning breakfast, and I read the local Las Vegas paper, and I read generally either the New York Times or the LA Times a couple times a week as well. So those are kind of the publications I spend my time on.
Excellent. And I've just put that in there for those of you joining us now in the live chat. You'll see zerohedge.com. We put that in there, so you'll be able to see it, and you can click on that and go there. Those of you joining us by recording be able to get that as well. Well, I appreciate you sharing that. So those are the sites you go to. Do you have any podcasts that you listen to?
I don't, because I don't have time. In a typical day, in just a typical day, Terry, I do at least 6 to 12 radio interviews a day, plus host my own radio show. So there's no time to listen to anyone else's podcast.
Okay. And any
Terry, I think I've lost you. I'm not sure what that means, but first Gina was gone, and now you're gone.
Oh, I'm
there.
There
we go. Here. I think you're getting back up.
Can
on
you
the
hear
screen.
me?
There's Gina.
Hi,
Gina.
I'll pop back in. Okay, fantastic stuff. So yeah, Terry and I are both big podcast listeners, but we understand that with the time constraints, you can't be. So
and we're back now. Can you hear me now, Wayne?
You're there.
There's only so much time in a day, I was saying, and just the time to listen to a podcast left when I started doing my own radio show 5 days a week, on top of 8 to 12 interviews every day, not to mention Fox News, Newsmax TV, where I'll become a regular contributor. I can announce that now. This month, I'll be a regular contributor on Newsmax TV. In the last few months, defending Donald Trump, I've been on Israeli TV, Russian TV, Japanese TV, multiple networks on Japanese TV, Canadian TV. I mean, my life is crazy. And then I have businesses to run and articles to write and now a book to write. So I think podcasts have to rest.
Yeah, I hear you. I find the podcasts very fascinating. I use it when I'm doing something else, like when I'm on the treadmill, instead of watching an HBO movie like you're doing. I think we all got to find what works for us. I love feeding my mind. My little, matter of fact, here, I got it right here, my little iPhone, and I can listen to this, pop the headphones on, and I'm listening to great, brilliant people like Tim Ferriss or James Altucher, or I get to listen to Thomas Jefferson, the Thomas Jefferson Hour, where we hear that regularly, and I hear President Jefferson talking about all kinds of interesting topics. And I find it's fascinating to see that. But so I think the key is, though, what I pick up is you're constantly educating your mind. You're feeding your spirit, doing the meditation. And I start listening. Those of you watching this, think about it. Lots of very successful people like Wayne are saying they are using and regularly doing meditation. They're feeding their brain. There's no one thing that you have to do. It's not like everyone says, oh, we always watch this one show or we always listen to this one podcast. You do what helps you to get ahead. Now, we know another thing that very successful people are doing is reading books. So tell us some of the books that have really helped you even lately or throughout time, that if we said, okay, name like 3 or 5 books that really have impressed you and changed your life, Wayne, what would they be?
Well, I'd start with the Bible because I read Bible verses every morning. And by the way, I never did that until 2 years ago. That's a kind of a brand new thing in my life. I never, ever bothered to really sit around and read the Bible. And I started to do it. And I picked out about 5 different verses that I love. And I tend to do affirmations every morning, and I read those Bible verses while I'm doing my affirmations kind of back to back. And it's really created a very positive mindset for me, made me feel good. I feel strong praying to God, and I feel strong reading Bible verses. So I'd say the Bible's the best book of all time. I'd say the Bible, other than the Bible, for me, is Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill.
Oh, yeah.
There's never been a greater book than that as far as business goes. And you know, I don't spend a lot of time reading a lot of other books, even though on the other side of here, I've got bookcases that are overflowing with hundreds of books. At this point, maybe it's thousands. It looks kind of ridiculous. I can't put them in order because there's too many. But I don't read them anymore because I'm busy writing them.
Yeah.
You know, I write 3 commentaries a week, every week, week in and week out, political commentaries. And then I write business and political books for a living. I'm on my 11th book now, Angry White Male. So I really don't have time to read a book, but people send me maybe 3 to 5 books a week, new authors who want me to give them quotes for the book, give an endorsement. So I tend to bring 1 out of every 20 that I get on an airplane with me when I'm going to give a speech somewhere. And I start it. If it's good, I finish it. If it's not, I just skim through it. But that's the only time I ever get reading in anymore, other than Bible in the morning, is when I get on an airplane. That's about it. My favorite trip is to South Africa. I've been there 4 times in the last couple of years. It's 24 hours flying each way.
Yeah.
And so I read a lot of books and watch a lot of movies on those 24-hour flights.
Oh, yeah. I know what those flights are like. They can be that way. And reading is a great thing to do on there. Do you do anything with ebooks, or is it all paper?
No, I'm a paper guy. I bring a book with me. I open it up and read it the old-fashioned way. But I'm certainly on the internet all day long. My gosh, I'm in the internet, you know, almost 24 hours a day at various points of the day. I'm always looking what's going on in the news, what's happening. I want to stay on top of it, because if you're going to host your own radio show, if you're going to go on Fox News a lot, if you're going to be on international TV a lot, if you're going to do 8 radio interviews a day, no one yet, knocking on wood, Terry and Gina, has ever hit me with a question I didn't have an answer for, because I'm up on everything happening in the news. They couldn't say to me, "Did you know this?" And I go, "Oh, I didn't know it," because I always have an answer, because I either knew it, or if I didn't know that exact thing, I read something else close to it yesterday so I can comment on it. I've always got, no one's ever stumped me. I've always got an answer, because I guess I live in dread that someday I won't have an answer for something. And so I don't want to be caught off guard. So I just stay attuned to the news all day long. I guess you'd call me a news junkie.
Okay. That makes sense. So you're doing that. And those of you watching, I want you to kind of watch and listen between the lines. Here's a man who's very successful. And what he's doing is he's constantly feeding his mind and reading, staying up on top of what's happening in there. And that's a very, very important thing to do. I find that the book you mentioned, Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill, written in 1937, was a very good book. Many people follow that. By the way, have you ever read Napoleon's Hill book, the book that he wrote in 1938, Outwitting the Devil?
I've heard of it, but I've never read it.
Write that one down, Wayne. I'll give you that as a little gift. It is going to make you drop your jaw. As much as I love Think and Grow Rich, and it's one of the best books out there. I agree with you. It is fabulous. Outwitting the Devil, even better. But it was not produced until 2011. 2011 is when they finally produced, because the ideas were so radical, he didn't think it would be good. And Mrs. Hill would not allow it to be published after he died. And so I mentioned Napoleon Hill. You will love this when they have an audio version of it.
I'm going to go get it. I'm going to read it on the airplane. I will. My next airplane.
Enjoy it. Then let me know.
By the way, I do want to mention, just in the last week, just out of the blue in the last week, I've gotten 5 separate emails, notes on email, from people who said, "I bought your book and I couldn't put it down. I wouldn't stop till it was done. I read it in 2 hours tonight, and it's me. It sounds like I wrote it. I don't know how you did that, Wayne." And I bring that up because that's how I felt about Think and Grow Rich. And when you find a book you like, it's you. And so every person that tells me that always happens to be a business owner, usually a small business owner. And I'm very proud of that fact. But just 2 days ago, one of the top Christian ministers, TV televangelist ministers in America, read my book and emailed me to tell me that if you substitute the word business for God, every word in the entire book sounds like his sermons every Sunday morning. My book is his sermons. And he wanted to tell me that. And he invited me to come to his church in St. Louis, June 10th. He's booking the tickets for me now. Sit in the front row, watch his sermon. He's going to call me up and we're going to have a conversation in front of his TV audience, I guess, and his live audience, because he was so impressed by the book. And I was so blown away that a Christian minister was so proud of my book. So I'm just honored and thrilled. And I think that truth is truth. It doesn't matter if you're talking about business or sports or politics or religion. Certain things work. And I think the ideas in Relentless are the kind of ideas that make anyone and everyone successful in life. It's not what you have in your head. It's not your IQ. It's not your Harvard degree. It's not your Ivy League parchment. It's not who you know. All those things are important. But whoever is the most relentless, that never gives up, will be the person that is most successful. And that's why I'm on Bill Maher a week from tomorrow. I'm on Real Time on HBO because I used to be a regular guest on Politically Incorrect. And I was on with him many, many times, the most of anyone in all of Hollywood in 1998. Him and I had a fight on the air.
Oh, really?
And he never allowed me on his shows ever again. And so I found his newest producer 5 years ago, and I started emailing her, and I said, you got to let me on again. I'm good TV. And she said, sorry, Bill doesn't want you on his show. And I said, you got to be kidding me. Well, I hammered and I hammered and I hammered for 5 years, 20 times a year. I sent emails with different angles and reasons why I should be a guest on Bill's show. And she just called me a week ago and said, guess what? You did it, Wayne. You were relentless. We were both relentless. I argued to Bill that you should be on for 5 years, and he finally relented and said yes. And now I'm on next week. So that's in anything you do in life. Never give up. Keep fighting. Keep banging away. Keep chopping at the cherry tree. Eventually, no matter how big it is, and no matter how small you are, it will fall.
Yeah, it's that persistence, that relentless that you talk about in your book. And it's interesting. I keep seeing that over and over from very successful people. Those who succeed are those who say, okay, we're going to keep going at it, but we don't always keep trying the same thing. I like to talk about it as smart persistence, to say, gee, I'm just going to keep hitting my head against this wall. You're going to get a bloody head. Sometimes you got to use your head for thinking and say, wait a minute, this part isn't working. Let's go over here and try this. We'll try that. Keep adapting. And that's what you're doing. You're feeding your mind with new information. Well, as we look at where the world is today, we see what's going on. If you were going to start a new business today, what kind of traits do you think are most important in today's world? Not what it was 5 or 10 years ago, but for today to succeed in the environment, given the opportunities and also given the kind of challenges that we have that you've run into as well.
Well, I don't think anything has really changed. I mean, other than the fact that Obama's done horrible damage to the economy, nothing has really changed. I think Donald Trump points out success is about being relentless. It's about being on offense 24 hours a day. And it's about the truth. I think if I was opening a business, it would be selling the truth. If you tell the truth and you sell the truth, I think people are hungry for someone to tell them the truth. And I think there's so much BS out there. So many people lie to you in the media. They tell you the economy's good. They're lying. They tell you Obama's ideas and policies are working. They're lying. The politicians of California, Jerry Brown, and I saw the Lieutenant Governor Gavin Newsom on TV yesterday. He actually said California's working. They all predicted it wouldn't work, and yet we've got a budget surplus now. Everything's great. You know why that's a horrible lie? California raised taxes on successful people dramatically to 13.3% state income tax. So if you steal enough of people's money, you can balance the budget and claim success. But is that really success? Only a politician could steal people's money by passing a law. Can you imagine how successful Gina could be, and you could be, Terry, and I could be, Wayne Root, if I, as a businessman, could just pass a law that says, from now on, you have to shop in my store and you have to pay an extra $10 on every product because I say so. Well, then I'd be the richest man in the world. With the use of force and a gun and the IRS and revenue agents at gunpoint, you can make yourself successful. That's what politicians actually think, but they're lying and they're kidding themselves. California's headed for an economic collapse. I personally must know 50 people live in California. All 50 are business owners, and all 50 are desperately trying to move out of the state. So knowing that, they're kidding themselves. It's temporary success. Everybody with money is going to leave.
It's kind of like an Atlas Shrugged.
Atlas Shrugged. That's it. I opened up FreedomFest 3 years ago talking about Atlas Shrugged and how everyone was getting ready to leave America, and it's all coming true.
And
it's more people have renounced citizenship than at any time in history. So I think if you sell the truth and tell the truth, I think you actually have a chance to make a lot of money in this society today.
Yeah, I think so. And that's going to be a key. And by the way, we're looking forward to hearing from you. Those of you that are joining us, we're using a technology today so that you can literally come on screen. You'll see that there's an option there that you can call in. If you would like to do that, we would love to hear from you. And you can ask your question. Make sure it's a question, not a long statement. We want a short interaction here so we can get a lot of people. But if you want to call in, just click on that call in button and we can click the right buttons here to let you come on screen. We see that several of you are joining us right now. So wait.
And by the way, Terry, I got to think, see, I have lousy eyesight. I'm nearsighted. So I'm looking at the camera, but I can't read the chat. But I got to think that someone watching right now is thinking of asking the following question. How did Wayne Root know that Donald Trump was going to win? I think that Donald Trump could win when he was at 2%. I was the only guy in the entire country who wrote nonstop commentaries that Trump was the answer and Trump would win this election, win the nomination, and then win the election. And I want to answer that question. I don't know if anybody asked it, but I
don't think we've seen it. But if somebody did ask that, what would be your answer?
Well, it ties in with what I said. I was pounding the treadmill one day, working out on the treadmill, watching HBO so I could get through my 2 hours of pain. And what comes on the screen but the 1998 movie Bulworth, starring Warren Beatty as a politician who is suicidal, crazy, and wants to kill himself. So he no longer cares what anyone thinks. So he decides to just tell the truth wherever he goes. And suddenly people love it. And he becomes the winner of the election and the front runner in polls for president of the United States. So the next morning I wrote the commentary, Donald Trump is Bulworth. And this was spring of 2015 when he hadn't even declared he was running yet. And the next morning after I wrote that, I get a note, an email from the office of Donald J. Trump. And I open it up and his assistant says, Donald wants to talk to you. See the attached. So I download the attachment. It's a handwritten note from Donald. Brilliant, by the way. Always write handwritten notes to people to show them that you care. And Donald said, Donald Trump is Bulworth? Brilliant. Love you, Wayne. Keep up the good work. I'm going to watch everything you're doing. Donald. And from that day on, everything I wrote, I got a note the next day from Donald saying, fantastic, loved every word of it.
A handwritten note each day?
What's that?
Was it a handwritten note each day?
Each time a handwritten note as an attachment.
Let me pause you for just a moment there, Wayne. Listen to what Wayne just said. If you're watching this, and regardless of what you think about Trump or not, I know it's a controversial thing right now, but think about this. Someone who's successful, who's very, very busy, taking time to write a handwritten note. There's something to be said about, yes, we love technology, we love email, we love Snapchat, tweets, and all the wonderful things that are there. But a handwritten note still goes far. So I interrupted you there a little bit, Wayne, but please continue.
In my case, I don't really do a lot of handwritten notes. I think it's a brilliant idea, but I go even further. I go the personal touch. Anytime someone writes something or says something nice about me, I pick up the phone and I call them and I thank them.
Yeah.
And sometimes let's go to lunch and I buy lunch. That's even better than a handwritten note, face to face. But it's just interesting to note, I've been a political writer for many years. I've written about everyone. I've written about Jeb Bush some nice things. Even though I didn't support him, I wrote nice things. He never looked me up and contacted me, never thanked me. I wrote about Scott Walker. He never looked me up. Newt Gingrich never looked me up. Marco Rubio never looked me up. Ted Cruz never looked me up. Only Donald Trump thought to send me a personal note once, twice, 3 times. I kept it in this drawer. I have 25 notes from Donald Trump while he's running for president of the United States.
You know, that's interesting.
Really
When you're saying that, it reminds me of something I saw years ago. I think it was when Clinton was in office. And Clinton was in office and James Carville was on some program. And a caller was saying, I don't like Clinton because of this or that. And Carville said, wait a minute. When I needed help, when my mother needed help, he was there. Bill Clinton came over and he did this and that. And you think about it, it's the personal touch that affects all of us. We're all human beings. And if someone does that, I've even heard, I'm not a fan of Bill Clinton and what he did, but people that have been there, were around him, said he had almost a magnetism of being able to draw people into him. And I see what you've experienced with Trump as well. I think he has, regardless of what someone thinks about him, he has that magnetism that has done that. And that's very important in business to get ahead.
FreedomFest, Terry and Gina, is filled with libertarians. And I was on the libertarian presidential ticket. Obviously, I consider myself libertarian. Certainly, I'm a Reagan conservative with libertarian leanings at the least. And at the most, I'm actually very libertarian on almost every social issue. I think people should do whatever they want to do in the privacy of their home, their bedroom, their kitchen, their living room, whatever it is. If it isn't bothering me, I have no right to tell you what to do. That's a very libertarian view. When it comes to money, I'm very libertarian mixed with fiscal conservative. I want government out of the way. But yet people ask me all the time, and I would assume this might be a question on chat, why did you leave the Libertarian Party and why don't libertarians win elections? And the answer is that libertarians don't have an understanding. I guess it's a left brain, right brain kind of thing. Libertarians are fantastic on issues and policy, but they don't understand that politics is a mix of salesmanship and show business. You are either a great salesman or you're a Hollywood actor. And the best politician is a mix of both. Policies don't even matter. Most people don't even know what you believe in. All they want to know is, do you care? Do they like you? Would they like you in their living room? Would they have a beer with you? And libertarian candidates are never the person you'd want to have a beer with. They're never the person whose personality is like Wayne Root or Donald Trump, bigger than life. They're just too concentrated, focused on policy. All they want to do is talk intellectual policy in a country that isn't intellectual and doesn't care about policy. Donald Trump was always going to be the perfect candidate, and I said that from day one, because America loves reality TV stars, and America loves celebrity. They love American Idol and Dancing with the Stars. And Donald Trump is Apprentice, American Idol, and Dancing with the Stars combined. And who wouldn't, if you could spend $1,000 at an auction, who wouldn't want to buy an hour hanging out with Donald Trump, just 1 hour of your life? Who wouldn't want to ride the limo with Donald Trump down Fifth Avenue, Manhattan, and watch the crowd stop and wave and talk to Donald? And so I was lucky enough to have a chance to meet him up close and personal and experience his life, because Donald's been in Nevada 3 times since he announced he was running for president. 3 gigantic rallies, 5,000 people, and then the estimates were about 10,000, the biggest rally in the history of Nevada. And Donald asked me to be the opening act for all 3 rallies and be his master of ceremonies. And so I was the opening act for Donald, and I got to hang out with the crowd afterwards. And it was the greatest 3 experiences of my life, other than my marriage and the birth of my 4 kids. It was the 3 wildest experiences of my life. And that's what I see in Donald. Personality and charisma and dynamic personality, high energy, reality star, celebrity, all mixed in one. When you leave a Trump event, you're just flying high. You don't get that from a libertarian event. You're not leaving it excited. So if libertarians ever want to win, they better learn from what I'm talking about and make it into show business, because policy will never get anyone elected, ever.
I think you're hitting on a very important point, that regardless of what you feel politically, the idea of emotion is there. We saw the late great Zig Ziglar told us that people stand by based on emotion, and then they lock it in with logic. We use that for a reason. And having that persuasive ability, and being able to connect with people at an emotional level is extraordinarily important. By the way, if you're hearing any noise in the background, it's because we're getting a very nice thunderstorm here in Orlando. We're doing this live right now. We're fine. But if you're wondering what that is, that's what's going on right now.
I'll give you one more tip, and it's straight from my book, Power Relentless. If you want to be successful in life, book is not about politics, it's about business. But if you want to be successful in politics or business, you have to learn to become a great storyteller.
Yeah.
You have to have a story for every issue, and your entire speech should be story after story after story. Don't worry about facts. Libertarians spend their whole lives worrying about facts. Give a speech about facts and watch a crowd of 20 people fall asleep. Give a speech with stories, nothing but personal stories that people can emotionally identify with, and you'll wind up like Donald Trump, a crowd of 25,000 who never fall asleep, and they're entertained from beginning to end. And all my life, naturally, I just tell stories. There are no facts that anybody finds interesting in the real world. You will never win an election by quoting facts. You can't win an election by saying the economy's horrible, here's 22 facts proving it. You can win an election by saying, my own grandmother lost her job yesterday at a factory. Or I met a woman who's 80 years old and she became homeless yesterday. Her name is Rosa Parks, and she used to sit on the back of the bus, and I met her, and she's a wonderful woman, and Obama ruined her life. And I spoke to her yesterday and spent an hour with her. That's how you give a speech. That's how you win an election. Libertarians have never done that. So hopefully everyone who's listening right now is taking some notes and learning. It's the only way you're ever going to win elections.
Yeah, the key is being able to relate to people where they are. I think that's the key, and finding out where they are. You mentioned it reminds me of saying from Tip ONeill, the former Speaker of the House from Massachusetts, when he said, all politics is local. What people pay attention to is what's affecting them personally. The idea of we always have to see, I remember hearing this years ago, you want to see what's in it for me. WIIFM, everyone's favorite radio station. You want to see that on someone's forehead when you're looking at it. What's in it for me? Always target the other person, finding out what it is that you can do to help them. And I think that works.
And by the way, you brought up
business.
Terry, you brought up Tip ONeill. And Tip ONeill was an extreme left-wing Democrat.
Yes, he was.
Ronald Reagan, a huge Republican conservative, the exact opposite.
Yeah, they were biting each other a lot.
and they became good friends, and they cut major deals together. And when people ask me about Donald Trump, they say, oh, I don't know what he believes in. You know what? He's a capitalist, and that's all I care about. On the other side, it's a socialist, whether it's Hillary or whether it's Bernie or whether it's Elizabeth Warren. It'll be a socialist running against a pro-business capitalist, and he's a deal maker and a negotiator and a people person. He will sit down at the table, and he'll make friends, and he'll cut a fantastic deal. That's what Donald does. That's what I've done my whole life. You have to compromise, because now you ask me, what do I believe in? Well, I think income tax rates should be 0. I think capital gains rates should be 0. And I think that if you left businessmen and women alone, we'd make this country turn around in a minute, and it would be super successful if you incentivized us by letting us keep our own money. But in the end, right now, tax rates are 43%, income tax rates, 43% under Barack Obama. So I'm a negotiator. I want 0. I'd be thrilled to settle for 15, and I'd certainly settle for 28 if I had to, percent tax rate. You've got to be a negotiator, and that's why I didn't support Ted Cruz, because he's a guy that goes, oh, well, I want 0, so I won't negotiate. I'll just fight all day, and nothing gets solved and nothing gets done, and I'm stuck with 43%. If Donald could get me to 28, I'll kiss the ground he walks on and say, thank you, thank you, thank you. That's not 0, but it's a heck of a lot better than 43. You need someone who could sit across from a table and make friends and cut a deal. That's Donald Trump. Yeah. That's Wayne Root. And that was Ronald Reagan.
Yeah, and I think you raise a very good point. I see a lot of times in the freedom and liberty movement, we say, well, you know, taxes are here, we want them to be here. And someone will say, well, what about here? I go, no, we got to go this way. Or they'll say, oh, you're compromising or whatever. And I think, well, life is a series of compromise. If someone weighs 500 pounds, they're grossly overweight, morbidly, and they're harming their health. You don't say tomorrow, you've got to get down to the ideal weight of 150 or whatever it is. No, that's impossible. And even if you could, it would hurt them. So what you do is you say, we'll go from 500 by next month. We're going to do it with medical care, and we'll get you down to 450. Okay, fine. Right. And then the next month we go down to 4, and then we make gradual progress. I think often is a good way to do it, whatever we're talking about in life.
Hey, Terry, have you ever eaten an entire elephant?
I never. Yeah, I don't, and I'm leaning more and more, thanks to Gina's input, on being more vegan all the time, finding a lot of energy. So no, I have not eaten a full elephant.
You know what the key is to eating an entire elephant?
One bite at a time.
One bite at a time. Yeah. So that's my point. I think libertarians always think it's my way or the highway. It's 100 or it's 0, and they spend their whole lives fighting for 100 when it's at 0 or 0, and they're fighting for 100. And I'm a one bite at a time guy. It doesn't happen overnight. Overnight success takes 25 years of hard work, 16 hours a day. And so, freedom and liberty will have to come one bite at a time. And so libertarians love to say to me in emails, you are a sellout. You're fighting for Donald Trump. He's not a libertarian. I go, Donald Trump is a capitalist who's pro-business and will lower taxes a little bit, cut regulations, I think a lot, and I believe kill Obamacare. And if he just does that, those few little bites, he's the best president in modern history since Reagan. That's all I could ask for, because if you ask for more, then you get Hillary Clinton and Barack Obama and Bernie Sanders, and then you get no freedom. It goes to 0. So a little bit of freedom is better than no freedom. And Donald Trump, I think, will get us back to the Ronald Reagan days and turn the economy around. He by no means is a perfect libertarian. He isn't. He by no means is a perfect conservative. He isn't. He's a common sense, populist, businessman who loves America and will always put America first. And that's, by the way, always been my philosophy. What else should a politician do? I'm not the president of Colombia. I'm not the president of Nicaragua. I'm not the president of Russia. If you get elected president of America, your only rule should be, is it good for America? Is it good for American jobs? Is it good for the American middle class? Is it good for the American economy? Anybody else comes like number 1,000 down the list. Your only job is to take care of Americans. And so I think Donald Trump's the one guy who really is focused on America first and American jobs first. He by no means is a perfect libertarian. I get it.
Yeah, and I think those of you that are joining us now, you're hearing some comments, and I notice some of the comments we're seeing here on the side coming through. Some are agreeing, some not agreeing as well, and that's okay. This is all part of learning. It's one of the wonderful things. Wayne, you've been to Freedom Fest many years, and one of the things I love best about it is to hear a variety of point of views, to be able to hear what this person says and another one isn't. And sometimes it's a rather spirited debate or argument that's there, but I think that's okay as long as it's peaceful and we can listen and we learn. And so that is where I think we learn. We learn best when we can listen to people who say a lot of different opinions from many different points of view and go, I hadn't thought of that. Because I know for me in my own life, I've changed my opinion from where I was at one time to where I am now. Wayne, I'll have to admit this to you and those watching. When I one of the first elections I voted in, I voted for Jimmy Carter. And I had zero knowledge of economics. I just thought that's the thing to do. Well, I've since moved from there. Milton Friedman came along with his Free to Choose, and it helped me enormously. Because as I was studying and learning, hey, there's a thing called economics in the real world, and this thing called supply and demand matters. But I think as we continue to learn, we grow, we morph, and we learn new ideas all the time. And that's good. That's wonderful. And Wayne, you've got a book coming out this fall, and you've got some other books as well. I want you to help people that say, gee, I want to know more about Wayne. I want to know more about the books that he has. Tell us how they can get in touch with him and some of the books that you would particularly recommend.
Well, the one that started all of my success as a writer was, even though I've written 11 books, the big one, the over-the-top success was in 2013. It was called The Ultimate Obama Survival Guide, and it was a catchy name, and that's what I'm about, branding, It was a catchy, high-energy name, and a lot of people bought it. Became the #1 political book in America when it came out, and in bookstores, and it wound up the year as I think it was number 8, but it was one of the top 10 political books of the entire year, and nobody like me ever makes lists like that. I'm a small businessman from Las Vegas. I went and looked up and down the list. It was the biggest politicians in America, and it was the editor of the New York Times, and it was the editor of Time magazine and the editor of Newsweek magazine. That's who was in the top 10, along with a little small businessman from Las Vegas. So, I think I've done some things that have broken out success-wise that prove my philosophy works. Ultimate Obama Survival Guide, I'd recommend. The Murder of the Middle Class from 2 years ago, I'd recommend. That's what's happening today. The Power of Relentless, I'd recommend for anyone in business. And my newest one comes out in September, Angry White Male, how the Donald Trump phenomenon is changing America and what we could all do to save the middle class, the shrinking middle class. That's the subtitle. And so I'll have lots of ideas in there.
Yeah. And Wayne, if someone says, hey, I want to get in touch with you, what's the best way for them to reach you?
Sure. They can go to my website, rootforamerica.com. I'm Wayne Root. I root for America. I'm a patriot. So it's root, ROOT, foramerica.com is my political site. All my ideas on video, because people don't read anymore. They watch videos. So I put them on video at Root for America, and my personal site, wayneroot.com. And you can email me from both of those sites anytime, wayneroot.com.
Very good. Well, we appreciate you being here and joining us on Freedom Fest. And on behalf of the Freedom Fest community, we appreciate you. And don't forget, Freedom Fest is coming up. It's a place where you can find out about a lot of different topics. It's really an intellectual feast to be there and to hear many different points of view. By all means, all kinds of different views, which is very good. We learn that way. And you can actually get a special discount for this, $100 off the regular price if you use FFTV for Freedom Fest TV as the code. And you'll be able to get in there. It's coming up in July in Las Vegas. So, Wayne, your plane ticket's not going to be too bad getting into Freedom Fest, right?
That's why you can always count on me being there. I think it's July, if I'm not mistaken, 13th through 16th.
13th through 16th, that is correct. And we'll be at Planet Hollywood.
I'll be your opening speaker, and I'll be leading what I think will be the most important debate at Freedom Fest, Donald Trump, pro or con. And I'll be defending Donald on the pro side. So we'll have a lot of fun.
Yeah, I think it's good to hear different points of view and be able to understand. I think, who was it? Warren Buffett's, what's his top right-hand person name? The guy's name, Warren, or I forget, and whatever. He said, you don't have a right to talk against another side until you can argue for that other side.
Right.
So
isn't that Charlie something? His right-hand man?
Charlie Munger, I think it is.
Charlie Munger. That's
thank you. Thank you. Charlie Munger. Yeah. And he says, make sure you understand the other point of view and be able to argue that persuasively before you can go out and say your point of view. Understand it. Remember, Patton studied Rommel. You want to understand what they're saying on both sides, and I think it's great. And Wayne, really appreciate you being on here. I know you're very busy, and you being here and sharing your ideas, particularly on how we get ahead and what you have done. I loved the nitty-gritty that you gave us today, the yoga that you do, the meditation, the reading, the exercise, watching that. Those are real-world things. Matter of fact, today I'm going to go back down to hit the treadmill. I love doing that, and I'll be thinking of you doing it. I'll be listening to a podcast. So
I'm going to do it right now.
There you go. And by the way, if you ever wanted to listen to the Thomas Jefferson Hour, I think you would enjoy it.
I love Thomas Jefferson, my favorite politician
and
of all
you get a
time.
chance to hear him. It's actually Clay Jenkinson, who is a seasoned humanities scholar that talks about and has studied Jefferson's life, but he portrays Jefferson. And so it's like you get a chance to hear Jefferson interviewed and discuss various things. I think you would like that. So we're looking forward to seeing you then at Freedom Fest in Las Vegas in just a few weeks. And thank you very much for being here. And for those of you that are watching, I'm Terry Brock. We appreciate you being here. And on behalf of Gina Carr and the entire Freedom Fest team, we wish you much continued success. Thank you for being here today.
Bye, guys. Thank you.
Bye-bye. Thanks.